The Ark lifts the Tower of Babel. In discussing Noah's Ark, we cannot ignore the Tower of Babel. Not only is the Tower of Babel a continuation of the Ark story, but it also serves as a sequel to the Ark. According to the Bible, the Tower of Babel was a sinful act of defiance by the Babylonians, and it incurred divine curse. The purpose of constructing the tower was to withstand God's potential flood punishment once again. The Tower of Babel first appears in Genesis 11 of the Bible. In this story, a group of people who spoke a single language migrated from the east to the Shinar region after the Great Flood. They decided to build a city there along with a tower that reaches to the heavens. The exact location of the Tower of Babel remains uncertain. However, scholars generally believe it was likely near present-day Baghdad, the capital of Iraq. In March 1899, a German archaeological team conducted a 10-year excavation project. About 50 kilometers south of Baghdad, along the Euphrates River. They discovered ruins resembling the depiction of the Tower of Babel in ancient texts. Unfortunately, the site was later repurposed for other development projects, causing significant damage to subsequent archaeological efforts. Fortunately, the team found bricks inscribed with the name of King Nebuchadnezzar, the ruler associated with building the tower, confirming the historical account. The term Babel originates from ancient Hebrew, meaning confusion. The Tower of Babel is also known as the Tower of Sound Split. This is because God confused humanity's language, preventing effective cooperation, and ultimately leading to the abandonment of the Tower project. People dispersed across the world, forming different language and cultural groups. This story explains the phenomenon of language diversity, which is the origin of human linguistic variety. God's intervention divided humanity into distinct language groups, rendering mutual communication impossible. Thus, the Tower of Babel became a symbol of cultural diversity and a punishment for human arrogance toward God. Although the Bible describes the Tower of Babel as a tall structure, it is also connected to other known buildings in history and mythology. One notable example is the Amenenki Temple, a ziggurat built by King Nabopolassar of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. The church believes that the Babylonians constructed the Tower of Babel in Babylon to prepare for God's next great flood. Interestingly, the tower's construction did emphasize waterproofing. Its outer dimensions formed a nearly 90-meter square cube. The core was made of compacted clay and sun-dried clay bricks, while the outer layers used fired clay bricks bonded with asphalt. The secret of the Tower of Babel lay in this asphalt material. In ancient Mesopotamia, natural asphalt deposits were indeed present. The region's natural asphalt, mainly found between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers in present-day Iraq, was used for construction. Waterproofing, sealing containers, coating ships, making tools, and decoration. Asphalt was particularly typical for water tank preservation and urban and palace construction. Given that the Tower of Babel's height could withstand a great flood, we can estimate that Noah's Ark during the biblical flood was likely only a few tens of meters high. This estimate aligns with the International Panel on Climate Change's projection that if all ice and snow melted on Earth, sea levels would rise by approximately 60 to 70 meters. Modern scientists have simulated the construction of the Tower of Babel. Technically, such a structure's theoretical height limit would be just over 90 meters, coincidentally matching the tower's height. In ancient Mesopotamia, brick and stone bonding materials primarily included mortar, a mixture of cement, lime, clay, and other binding materials combined with fine aggregates. Mortar was used to solidly bond brick and stone blocks into masonry structures. During construction, this mixture was applied to bricks and stones and allowed to dry before finishing work. Rice lime mortar. Rice lime mortar was a magical adhesive specific to ancient architecture. It involved boiling rice into a paste and then mixing it with aged lime. Rice lime mortar enhanced mortar's bonding strength, surface hardness, toughness, and impermeability, significantly improving brick and stone structures' durability. Despite its higher cost, rice lime mortar was widely used in important buildings of ancient Mesopotamia. It's worth emphasizing that ancient Chinese architecture also extensively used rice lime mortar. However, this practice was indigenous rather than imported. Historical records indicate that Chinese rice lime mortar dates back to the northern and southern dynasties for 120,589 AD and flourished during the Ming dynasty 136816 for forehead. Asphalt is an affordable and high-quality construction material. It is widely used in building waterproofing projects, a below-ground foundation periphery. The part that connects with the soil is entirely coated with a thick layer of asphalt. Flat roofs, the common method involves using pre-stressed reinforced concrete circular panels for the roof, applying a layer of lightweight concrete fragments on top with a 3% slope, pouring cement mortar, filling gaps, and leveling, brushing a layer of hot asphalt, laying oil felt directly onto the roof structure using hot asphalt as an adhesive, an additional layer of hot asphalt at least at the oil felt seams, creating staggered joints and adding another layer of oil felt, applying hot asphalt again at the oil felt seams, analyzing the modern waterproofing methods mentioned above. It's evident that the use of asphalt in constructing the Tower of Babel was primarily for waterproofing. However, the most significant drawback of asphalt construction is its susceptibility to melting under intense heat, causing deformation and even detachment of bricks and stones. Consequently, asphalt-built structures require annual maintenance during hot seasons, instead of using more stable materials like mortar or lime mortar. The decision to persistently use unreliable asphalt for brick and stone construction reveals the clear purpose of the project. Next, let's discuss the bricks and stones. The Babylonians extracted high-quality silt from the Euphrates riverbed, mixed it with straw to create brick molds, dried them, and then fired them in kilns. This level of craftsmanship exceeded mere brickmaking requirements and approached pottery standards by today's standards. The specialized bricks for the Tower of Babel were made from silt excavated from riverbeds. Even today, it's challenging to imagine the difficulty of this process. Some might argue that the Chinese have reclaimed land in the South China Sea by dredging, so what's the big deal about digging up river mud? However, the island building in the South China Sea is a national strategy, and cost is not a concern. But using the same method to dig up river mud for brickmaking would likely result in exorbitant brick prices. Another consideration is the fuel for firing the bricks. In ancient times, the Babylonians didn't have access to petroleum, natural gas, or coal. They had to cut down trees upstream along the Euphrates River and float them downstream. Such a massive undertaking, requiring countless bricks, likely contributed to deforestation and desertification in today's Arabian Peninsula. All these factors lead us to believe that the Tower of Babel must have astounded modern civil engineers. The remarkable similarity between Babylonian construction techniques and those used today during ancient times is astonishing. If someone were to propose alternative purposes for the Tower of Babel, such as a landmark, a temple, or an observation tower, civil engineers would likely vehemently oppose it. After all, regardless of other potential uses, asphalt should not be the material of choice for construction. Civil engineers would be amazed that the tower's designers must have time traveled to the present day to learn their craft. Otherwise, how could a text from 1500 BC align so perfectly with modern technology? This phenomenon itself could be considered a miracle. Furthermore, considering functionality, the Tower of Babel doesn't seem to have any other plausible purposes. Observation tower. An observation tower should be strategically located at the corners of a city wall to provide unobstructed views of the surroundings. It serves multiple functions, including surveillance and command during defense. However, the Tower of Babel stands alone, built in the city center, with little practical use as an observation post. Additionally, placing the staircase on the outside contradicts military logic. It invites vulnerability and easy access for enemies. Many priests and worshippers are elderly or infirm. Climbing up and down the Tower of Babel would exhaust them. Carrying them in palanquins would be impractical. Furthermore, in low cloud conditions, damp air would severely damage the building and any religious artifacts. Landmark. A landmark should have intrinsic cultural value. Dozens of bare bamboo poles strung together, shoulder height, wouldn't compare to the Eiffel Tower in Paris, which serves as a broadcasting antenna and an essential cultural icon. Those bamboo poles would serve no purpose. If the Tower of Babel were merely a landmark, it would be equivalent to an overpriced heap of garbage. Not a seven-tiered pagoda. The base of a seven-tiered pagoda isn't square, nor is it constructed with asphalt. It's not waterproof. Babylon has around 250 structures similar to seven-tiered pagodas. In the Bible, there are stories. In the eyes of believers, they are revelations from God. In the eyes of non-believers, they are fables. Regardless of faith, these stories have become canonical and popular, integrated into the daily cultural life of Earth's inhabitants. Anyone might cite them in their discourse. Thus, fables have evolved into idiomatic expressions and common knowledge. Understanding the background of this knowledge allows for more accurate comprehension and application. Within the Church, the Tower of Babel is referred to as the Tower of Confusion. According to the story, when God saw people fervently constructing the tower, he performed a miracle by altering their languages. Instantly, communication among the people ceased, leading to chaos at the construction site. They had no choice but to abandon the project, hastily disperse, and go their separate ways. Leaving aside the question of whether the diversity of human languages is indeed a consequence of the Tower of Confusion. This allegory suggests that before the Great Migrations, humans did not possess mature language and writing systems. The Tower of Babel has acquired various other names, such as the Tower to Heaven, the Roaring Tower, the Tower of Chaos, the Tower of Babylon, and the Tower of Languages. These names mostly appear in later literary works. However, the universally recognized core of the story remains God's displeasure with human arrogance and the origin of multiple languages. Perhaps the Tower of Babel's disappearance and vanishing trace are indeed a result of God's curse, following the events of Noah's Ark.